welcome. Now we are waving. Din, din, din. Yes, we are doing that. I know everybody already can hear me, can
Right,
read
good.
welcome.
Yeah.
Yes, soon will be you and me. Now. Okay. Welcome to another show. Diversity is the game changer. And today we are really from so diverse continents with very special guests with so much diverse. Oh, I'm sorry. Experience. And the episode title Purpose, Power, Inclusion, and conversation with Paul. Paul, it's Sagoo, and how you say it in Thailand, how you say it in UK, how you prefer.
Sagoo. Sagoo is how I would pronounce it. Paul. If I use my name, I'd say Paul Sagoo.
Okay. Is it special meaning? It's what kind of?
No, it's like most names. It's a clan of people from India. You have Smith in the UK or Jones. They're different. They usually sometimes come from different parts of the country, or they come from different jobs, or different this or different that. So historically, that's how names usually are.
I love it because it reminds me of Shagun, and then it's very special.
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah, it's very special, already, because I I'm very visual and the metaphorical already can imagine, but that's so beautiful. It's like night on biking, and yeah, beautiful. Okay, powerful energy. So in this episode, Diversity is the Game Changer, I'm honored to welcome our very special guest, an entrepreneur, investor, global connector, and one of the UK's most influential voices in diversity-driven leadership. And also, you know what? I'm today a little bit blonde because this is OBE, which you have. I asked my friend ChatGPT what means OBE, but I'm so blonde today. I actually forgot. I know it's very special honor you. And it's actually from 2025, Queen's Birthday Honors for Service, Diversity,
Yes.
Inclusion.
Yes.
But how you actually break it down?
It's OBE's Officer of British Empire. So these are what's called at the time Queen's Honours, now King's Honours, because Charles gives them now. But essentially, they are honours bestowed by the monarch, which for let's say face it, for absolute years it was Elizabeth, Queen Elizabeth, the late Queen Elizabeth, and now obviously it's King Charles, and it's at various levels. So it's to honor people who have served British life in various sectors. It could be anything. It could be anything from philanthropy through to acting, charitable work, sport, cinema, music, television, someone in finance, someone who's done an incredible job in their industry. But it's usually not just for someone who's good at what they do. It's for what they're good at and what have they done with that good. It's people who've done something of purpose. So not just, oh, I'm very good at playing football. Well, that's your job. You get paid £120,000 a week to do that. There's nothing you should be honored for that. That's your job. What is important is, did you use it to elevate the state of the nation? Did you use it to promote the sport, to allow people who are vulnerable and can't get into the sport, get into the sport? Did you use it to raise funds for charity? So when you start to look at the offshoots of your purpose, then you start to realize why people are honored. And it's literally that. It's what have you done outside of your day-to-day job, especially if your job is something you get paid for, then you're being compensated for it. It's about what else do you do.
Amazing. And you know what? Actually, I can even break down and create more. Because OB, it can be oh my beautiful elevator. You see, like you said, it's the person, not just what to do, how to do it.
Yeah.
And even I can break it like, oh my beautiful empathizer, because I'm sure you're the person who do a lot of this empathy, because this is the first E in my 4E enables matter. Empathy, this is the most important. Okay, cool. Yeah. I love it. But I'm not finished with introduction. So okay. Paul is the founder and director of Lemon Group International, a UK-based investment company, and the visionary force behind globally respected platforms such as the Asian Awards, the British Science Award, the British Photography Awards, and I'm sure it's many more. He's
Yeah.
also chairman on Refine Events, working in inclusive partnership with the Dorchester Collection, and strategic advisor to business worldwide across growth, operations, M&A, investment, and turnaround. But like you said, the most important not what you are doing, but how you are doing and what is your mission, what is your vision, and this is very clear and deeply human to make business, but the people with them both happy and profitable, and everything that should be in the conversation identity, belonging, leadership, and how inclusive environments can unlock human potential. It's
Yeah.
how I
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Thank you so much for staying with us, for giving the most precious commodity. It's your time, and we have already discussed a little bit when we hit enough that we always can find time when we prioritize things. And thank you so much that you prioritize our show, me, and we can discuss how you actually doing this impact, because I can see how much you do it, how you can impact this impact 24/7. But before now, very efficient Paul, who is all beautiful elevator. It was, I'm sure, elevator and empathizer as well, but as a small beautiful boy one day, small Paul with, I'm sure, big ambitions, dreams and aspirations. And we know that who we are today, actually, a lot of part of DNA from our childhood impact who we are today. Really, it's our roots. So for me, it's very interesting if you could take us a little bit backwards, which is so important for future, and tell us about your childhood, maybe special events or people or game-changing story, which was really like impactful for the rest of your life. So it's totally up to you what you would like to share with us. Thank you.
I mean, I was born in London. My parents, immigrants, came to London in the 60s. Much like many immigrants who came from the subcontinent, that being the Asian subcontinent of India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh. Largely, they were brought into the country to augment the workforce. Post-war, there was a huge effort in this country to rebuild. So from the late 50s, I think 55 or something like that, the first settlers started to come in. But from there and all the way to 60s, 70s, you had all these people. And I would say that's the generation that a lot of people look at and say, okay, when they came to the country, they did something. They were there for positivity. They brought something to the country. So I was born in London, raised there. I went to school there, did all the usual things. I went to university. I studied medicine at university. I didn't go into the NHS. I didn't work as a doctor as such. I went into IT instead. Some of you may know the TV program The Apprentice.
Yes.
Which is on BBC One. So the gentleman who's the boss there is Lord Sugar. He was at the time when I worked for him. He was Alan Sugar. So that was my first job out of university. Was working for Alan Sugar, selling computers, and from there I managed to get into better companies. I worked for Intel. I worked for Microsoft. I worked for eBay. I did a bunch of other one of these large corporates, which gave me really good grounding into kind of what it takes to be corporate, but what it also takes to be human in corporates, because that was something that was very much missing. And I always used to find myself either on the side of someone who was saying, well done, we needed someone to say that, or I would be the one who said, why did you say that? Like getting told off, so to speak, because it's that kind of environment. Everybody's worried about what they say. So I decided to leave the corporate world, and I set up my own IT business. That's the first success I guess I had. And I sold that, grew it to about 300 people in 2008, 2009. And then I decided to sort of, just give back and see like what else I need to do. And I did the whole, now what do I do? And that's when I fell into, the event space. And that's where we launched the Asian Awards. And what was the purpose? I think generically the purpose was I would go to lots of these types of events and I would see issues with them. I would see them being lackluster. But more importantly, I saw, a lot of people internationally, Asian people, and I mean that from sort of Turkey through to Japan, who were very successful, but people in the West didn't know who they were. And the reason why they didn't know who they were, because no matter how good they got, their stories were never good enough to get into the media. They could find a cure for cancer, but if they did it in isolation, no one would know their name. If they did it with a Western scientist, everyone would know the Western scientist's name, but no one would know that Asian person's name. And we know that to be true because there's a number of amazing inventors and people who time have just forgotten about their names. I'll give you a very good example. Someone we honored in 2013, Ajay Bhatt. So Ajay Bhatt works for Intel, and during his time for Intel, he invented USB. So he came up with the concept of the universal serial bus. Literally, the USB is the most pervasive port on the planet. There is more USB ports and USB cables than there are anything else on the planet. You think about how many USB devices you have now and how many there are elsewhere and all this. There are so many. Everything has gone USB, and that is down to him, but nobody's heard his name. I mean, it's literally one of the greatest inventions of the 20th century. One of the greatest inventions of the 20th century, and it got completely lost. His name got completely lost. So that is what I wanted to fix. That is basically what I wanted to fix. And, I look at, you asked a question about going back through to, my youth. Yes, a lot of people who are, grew up around that sort of time frame, they will all complain of racism. They will all complain of things like kids bullied you and this. And I happened to grow up in a very English area, very white area. I was the only Asian kid in the school up until I think the last year of senior school. Another Asian kid joined. So these stories were very common. And the reason why they were common is because the teachers nor the students, your co-students and teachers, had any idea how to deal with someone who didn't look like them. They didn't know. They tried. They knew it was wrong. They knew it was wrong to be racist. They knew it was wrong to bully because they wouldn't bully their own people. But they didn't know how to deal with it. And for them, I represented fear, and fear in the sense of an unknown. And sometimes when people don't know, who is this person? What does he eat when he goes home? Why does he look like that? Why does he, talk like that? Why does he have this? Is he too smart? If he's too smart, why is he smarter than us? All these things, they drive fear into people. And most people deal with fear by being aggressive. A lot of people, either they cower and disappear, or they deal with it through aggression, and some form of bravado, which is essentially what we know as being a bully, right? So I think a lot of those feelings and experiences are what kind of drove me to fight this fight for our people, to say, look, because it's not a money making exercise. Genuinely, I mean, you can make a lot more money doing a lot simpler things. It's not about that. It's a real labor of love to do these types of events where you're showcasing people, where people go, do we really need to know who that person is? But when you bring them to the fore, they go, wow, I never even heard of this person. This person's amazing. Look what they've done. And a lot of it is about you just curating and telling stories. And these are the stories that have shaped every one of us. These are stories that have impacted all of us. But we're only aware of the stories that shout the loudest. And the ones that shout the loudest typically in the Western world tend to be those with a Western voice. And that's a sad thing that I wanted to fix. And so, we started the Asian Awards. We developed it. We built it to a significantly large platform. I was very fortunate to have a lot of backing from some very senior people, including every prime minister that since David Cameron, when the coalition started with David Cameron, Nick Clegg, from Theresa May to Boris Johnson, You know, all the prime ministers that were present during the time that we were in London doing it. Sadiq Khan, you know, he was a regular visitor to the Asian Awards, and of course prominent celebrities and this, and we had people from Hollywood. We did some amazing things, telling past stories. I'll give you a very good example. We were the first people to highlight Freddie Mercury's Asian roots. So in 2011, see, a lot of people didn't realize that Freddie Mercury was Indian. They may have looked up, oh, he was born in Zanzibar, but they just assumed that, oh, he was a white guy whose family lived in Africa. And, you know, no, they emigrated from India. They were part of the same movement that moved millions of people from India to Uganda and to Kenya and to other parts of Africa, all for the purpose of building the British Empire. That's what they were there for. They were there to build the British Empire. So the British took people from India, were populous, who had the people, and spread them all across the world, which is why you find Indians everywhere, because they were spread across the world by the British. Perhaps it's the only. People look at it as a negative, but it's the one positive that's made Indian people survive so well, because the British basically cemented them in different parts of the world, and forced them to thrive and taught them to thrive. And so Freddie's family, you know, they came from India. They were born. They were from Maharashtra, from Mumbai, and it's really interesting because when we did the event, we had Freddie's mum and Freddie's sister come. You can go on Google and you can see all of this. There's videos on YouTube and what have you. And I had Brian May present the award to Freddie's mum. And we did it specifically on 2011 because that was the 20th anniversary of his passing, 20th anniversary of the death of Freddie Mercury. And the number of people that came up to him and went, oh my God, I had no idea he was Indian, including MTV India. So MTV in India reached out to me and said, we've just seen the footage that your PR team have sent to us about Freddie Mercury. We didn't know. I'm like, yo, you're MTV. You should know this. And they're like, we didn't know. They're like, oh my God, he's literally the greatest rock star ever. I said, yes. And he was Indian. And, you know, yes, he changed his name from Farrokh Bulsara to Freddie Mercury for the very reason that he went through abuse as well. You know, not least did he go through abuse for having a different name and a different culture, you know, because he had, you know, that used to stick out as well. So he used to get abused for that. And that's the reason why he decided to change his name. And now, did he do the right thing? 100%. You know, it's about, you do things for the time that you're in. There are things that people do now who think they're brave, but if they were to do it 200 years ago, they'd be killed. Whereas now it's like no big deal. You know, if you say, if you turn around to someone and say, I'm gay today, no one gives a hoot. No one cares. Try that 200 years ago and see what would have happened to you. You know, you'd have been killed. You'd have been ostracized, at the very least ostracized quite badly. So he made those changes. But the beautiful thing is we were the first to, and I remember thinking, wow, it took me. I'm a nobody in the music industry. I'm an absolute nobody. You know, I just do this event. We get some musical artists on and this and that, the other. Why did it take me to tell that story? Why did it take me to get Freddie's mum, Freddie's sister, Brian May, one of the greatest rock stars? Why did it take me to do that? Why didn't someone else pick up on this and tell that story? And so when they did Bohemian Rhapsody, they reached out to me and said, can you know, we had a long dialogue, and they said, tell us everything you know about what your experience was like with Jer and Kashmira, the sister. You know, and you know, we gave all the information that we had, which they seeped into the movie. A lot of the stuff they seeped into the film. You know, there's some of the notes that they took about how proud Freddie was of being Indian, because one of the things his mum said is even though, in fact, Brian May says this in his speech at the Asian Awards, he says, I know from this day on I'll be Freddie Mercury, but for you I'll always be Farouk. I'll always be your Farouk, to his mum. And that means he didn't turn his back on his culture. He didn't do that. He was proud of his culture, but he knew he had to play the game. It's a bit like George Michael had changed his name. Elton John changed his name. You change something that's very easy for someone to go, yeah, I get it. It's easy. George Michael almost certainly wouldn't have made it with a very, very long Greek name that he had. Jay Sean, his real name is Kamaljeet Juthi. He almost certainly wouldn't have made it with a name like Kamaljeet Juthi. There's no way he would have made it. So I totally get why he did it, and that's what made him smart. But the thing that flummoxes me is why it took me to do it. Why was I the person why did I need to bring that out? And that's what's wrong. That's what was wrong. Is it still wrong? I don't know. Are things still broken? Yes, but I think there are things that have been fixed. But the people who are not playing at the level that they should blame things by saying they're broken when they're not. What I mean by that is racism is not the answer for every time someone who is not white gets turned down for something. Sometimes it's down to their ability. Sometimes it's down to the fact that they're the wrong person. Sometimes it's down to the fact that they have a bad attitude. It's not necessarily always racist. And some people have got into this mindset that, oh, they're just being racist. Well, no. If you're rubbish at something, you're rubbish at something. You could be black, pink, yellow, blue. It doesn't matter. You're rubbish at it. That's it.
Yeah.
And this is where I think cultures and societies are starting to get things wrong. When you go into this positive discrimination, you start to shoehorn people of color into something just to make up statistics. Just to, like, if I were to say top 10 richest people in the world, they're all white men. They are all white men. They may be from different countries, but their phenotype, what they look like, is they're all white. There's not a single man of color in the top 10 richest people in the world. Now, is that because the system's racist? Is that because... No, it's not. It's not because of that. It's because they've done what they've had to do in the various markets. They've got whatever support they've got. They've raised whatever funds they've done. And it just happens to be that they've created great products and what have you, and they happen to be there. In the top 20, there's a couple of, I think there's one Indian, and in the top 30, you get Indian and Chinese, and you get other people, and it all starts to come together. But if you were to just look at that in isolation, a lot of people would just say, oh, it's just racism, isn't it? Yeah, people of color are put down. No, they're just not good enough. The businesses that some of those people run, who are people of color, just are not at the same level at the people who are in that top 10. The richest guy in Asia is a guy called Mukesh Ambani, who is Indian. And he runs a business called Reliance. Now, no one knows who Reliance is in the UK. Reliance doesn't have an international footprint. They made acquisitions. They bought Hamleys, the toy store. They bought Stoke Park which is a hotel in west of London. But that's for their own private purposes. But the brand Reliance does not operate in the truest sense as being a B2C business. Like, nobody in the UK buys something from a Reliance. No one goes, oh, I've got the latest Reliance this, Reliance that. So that business has growth. It's made its money by capitalizing on the internal consumption that occurs in India. And India is one of those countries that consumes 70% of its GDP. It's a very vast consumer of its own product. India can survive just by producing product for its own country. You can become a massive name in that part of the world. You don't even need to export. You don't even need to do that. You can become a billionaire just by doing that. You cannot become a billionaire in the UK by without exporting. It's not possible. You would have to own infrastructure. You would have to run railways, airports, something so big, electricity, this, that, so that you're accumulating so much wealth that is being used just within the country in order to make it that big. Otherwise, you wouldn't. So they're fortunate, but the brand is not at the same level as a Tesla, as a Google, as a Microsoft, as an Apple, as a this, as a that. So is that racist? No, it's just not as good. It's not as big. It's not as good. It does what it needs to do for a market that isn't as that is a cost-conscious market. And so you can't argue that to the point of what I'm saying is you can't argue that the top 10 doesn't have a thing because of racism. And that, if you take that as the analogy, that pretty much sums up every argument of racism ever, where it's wrong to make the accusation. There are plenty of occasions that it's 100% right. Don't get me wrong. And those things aren't up for debate. When it's clear out and out racism, we know it is. Those things aren't up for debate. But when it's been interpreted inaccurately, then you end up creating moments that people start to behave towards or away from, and it starts to shape and change their thinking for the worse. And we are creatures of behavior as humans. We were the first time you touched a hot pan, you didn't know it was hot. When you touched it and you went, ow, your mum gave you a slap and said, don't do it again. You didn't need the slap. We got slapped, but like, you didn't need to slap. You knew I'm not touching that again. So it's learned behavior. And a lot of these things are learned behavior. Now imagine that pot is not even on. You won't touch it. You won't touch it, because even whether it's on and off, you won't touch it because you've had that learned behavior. And that's the same with this types of accusations and beliefs, is that you get these people. I'm not like that at all, but you get these people who have experienced some racism in their life, possibly experienced some racism, and then everything is racist. Even if they're rubbish at something, even if they're even if it was their fault, even if they try to jump a queue, if they try to do something that they shouldn't have, it's racism, and they'll put everything towards racism. Now that's like blaming the fact that you live in a one country over another. It's what is actually wrong with this whole diversity thing, is how people are jumping on it to say that we need to be special. I'm no more special than the white guy who lives in the UK. Sorry, I'm no more special than that person. I deserve no better treatment. I deserve no less treatment, but I deserve no better. So when I start asking for stuff that even he doesn't get, then I'm being unfair. And the debacle that you see in the UK right now is largely down to that. Is people coming in and going, you know what, this country's racist, it's this, it's that. And then you get people who, instead of addressing the problem by saying, no, it's not, you're just not willing to work, or not willing to do this, or you're not educated, or you're not this, you're not that, and put them in their place. They pander to it and they give them what they want. And no wonder you get people who legitimately live here, work here, live in the UK, born in the UK, blah, blah, blah. And they feel outcast. I can understand that, Anyway, I think I've rattled a lot.
Oh my God,
it gives you an idea of what I'm talking about.
In everything you are sharing, that usually I'm talking machine, and actually I have a problem on podcast. I even put sometimes crosshair because I like literally can forget that this is the episode of Starlight and my guest. It's not just me talking and talking, but now it was so interesting, and I even didn't want to try to interrupt you. So first of all, thank you so much for sharing your story from the childhood, and you already lighten up so many questions, actually so effectively, without me breathing with my no, so many answers without me breathing is my questions. And for me then it's very, very interesting, like you already brilliantly, Paul, start discussing discrimination and actually diversity by background and ethnicity. We are not touching gender today, but for me it's very important and very interesting your opinion about cognitive or neurodiversity, because my passion, I do admire so much that you really wanted to change, to make impact, not just raise awareness, but you have been making impact and doing every day by giving back to your community and actually to the whole world. It's actually what I'm trying to do, to make, to give back impact to my community of neurodivergent people, because I have OCD, neurodivergence, and it's a spectrum. And my podcast actually started from what I call pishkas, because I was in pajama in my mental institution 4 weeks for my treatment because I had severe episode of OCD. And that's my really, really big passion for today, to showcase that it's not to be broken, it's not to be disabled, it's not to be outcast, it's not ashamed to have special type of brain which perceive and perceive this world differently. Like when I do my keynote, I have one slide like pajama mental institution, 6 weeks later like red carpet in Cannes festival, the same body, same person, a lot of training, a lot of work, like you said, discipline, a lot of stuff. But what do you think, how we can make really, not on the paper like you said, but really more inclusive communities and societies towards the people who expect?
Yeah, I mean, it's really important to understand something about the different. I mean, you said we're not going to talk about gender, but I think it's important.
Yeah, we can.
I think it's important to touch on a few things, and that is this. There are things which are visceral, things you can see straight away that you can act upon and have a judgment before you even hear someone. So, for instance, if I see someone black, I know straight away, if I don't like black people, I know that's someone I want to avoid. If I see a white person, I don't even need to talk to them. I know they're white, I want to avoid them. If the Asian, this, you get it. If I see a gay person, I don't know they're gay straight away.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell unless they're outward, and even then you can't assume. They could just like dressing in a certain way or behaving, then they may not be gay. So when you think about gender discrimination, it is a much lower tier of attack than race. And disability is in the same tier as race, because disability, especially if it's a physical, outwardly physical disability, you see it straight away. It's an easier target to attack from afar without engagement. You can attack. You don't see gender, or in 99.99% of the times, on the average person, you do not see a gender bias straight away. Unless you have a bias towards a man or a woman, you don't see the minority biases around gay, lesbian, bisexual, transsexual, this, that, the other. You don't see it straight away. You could argue that one could argue that yes, you can tell if someone is a transsexual because they really look like a man anyway, but they're dressed up in a thingy. But that's not always the case. It's not always the case. But you can never get wrong seeing a black person. You can never get wrong seeing someone in a wheelchair. There's no guesswork. If someone's in a wheelchair, they're in a wheelchair for a reason. If someone's black, they're black. If someone's brown, they're brown. If someone's white, they're white. So you can't get those things wrong. So you have to think that when you hear communities shout and scream about, but what about us? But what about us? There is nothing to discuss about gender discrimination. And I'll tell you why. Because your sexuality has nothing to do with me, and I can't comment on it because I don't see it. It has nothing to do with me unless you and I are in a sexual relationship together. If we're walking together as colleagues, it has nothing to do with me unless you make a big deal of it. If you bring it out and say, oh, he doesn't like me because I'm gay, everybody, I'm gay, everyone, and you'll make such a big deal of it, then you're making it into a big deal. Because what most people don't, most people don't talk about their toilet habits. Why do they need to talk about their sexual habits? Most people don't talk about how good of a sleep they have. Why talk about your sex? It's the same thing. It's a biological activity. Why discuss it? It's got nothing to do with, it's not something that you don't wear it as a badge. Oh, I'm gay. You don't wear it as a badge. You wear your skin. You cannot hide your skin. That is so much more obvious. And so I think when people, when we muddy the water with all these different types of discriminatory behaviors, I'm not saying it's acceptable. It's not acceptable, but it muddies the water of how people should think. And then people start to get irritated. Oh, I can't talk to this person. I can't do this. I can't do that. No, you treat everyone equally. That's what you need to do. What makes us similar is greater than what separates us. What combines us is our similarities. We are 99.9999999% similar. We are so similar. There's just a tiny little tweaks in the code. If we were wallpapers, we would all look the same with one thing, with one little tiny changes here and there. It would be tiny changes that you wouldn't even visibly be able to see. That's how similar we are. It's just that biology has played the trick of tricks and given us different skin colors and this, that, but we are all very much the same. And so why pick those obvious things out? Why pick those things out when you should be picking out the fact that we both have a heart, we both have a brain? There's so much more that there's so much that binds us rather than separates us. And I really want people to understand that it's a useless campaign to run to discuss why we're different is the most dumbest thing ever. You will never win people over. You only create a separacy. You'll never be successful in life if you have that as a trope in your life that you say, you know what divides us is so important. It's the dumbest thing ever. It is the dumbest thing ever. And there is no difference between the sexes unless you are engaged with that person sexually. It's none of your business what they do with them, with their bodies. Like, you don't ask them, like I said, about their toilet habits or sleeping. It's none of your business. So it doesn't matter. No, if you work with them as a colleague, do they do their job? Yeah, that's good enough. If they don't do their job, then you have a problem with them. But you're having a problem with the fact they don't do their job, not what they do and as a nocturnal activity. It's got nothing to do with us. So why bring it up? Why do we care? I don't care. Like, it's not a big deal. And the other thing is, a lot of these, we are minorities. We're not the majority, we're minorities. Our stories are important, but they're not more important than the majority. I am a great believer in that. I said I used to live in the UK, but in the UK, I'm there in a British society. I'm there to amalgamate into a majority British society. I'm not there to stick out as a minority. I'm there to amalgamate into the majority, because together we become stronger. If I stay, no, I've got to stay in my own little area with all my own people, do my own thing, eat my own food, don't touch my, don't do this, don't do that, no integration whatsoever, I'm weakening myself. And I'm weakening their understanding of me. They can't take advantage of what I have to offer, and I can't take advantage of what they have to offer. And it's their country, well, my country. It's predominantly the majority country. So why wouldn't you not play to that? And I think people really need to change their behaviors, because the concept of diversity is broken. Diversity talks about diversity is actually a stupid word, if you ask my honest opinion, because diversity talks about what makes us different. And that's exactly what I've been trying to push away from. The word inclusion is way better, because we are all included into a conversation. So what inclusion says is what makes us the same, what binds us. So inclusion is inclusion, and representation is what matters. Diversity is a very old concept, and it doesn't work anymore. You can't, if I'm making a film, for instance, if I'm making a film and I go, oh, all our top actors are all white. Oh, we've got to get a brown actor in there or a black actor. Why? Oh, does it look right? No. Does the show call for a black actor? No, then don't have one. Does it call for a what? Does it call for a woman? Does it call for a man? If it's a woman's film, it's a man's. Don't shoehorn, because if you change the narrative, you make it worse. And then when people watch it and go, "Oh my God, that black actor was rubbish. It was such a bad film," then people go, "Next time we're not even going to hire a black actor. We're not even going to bring that person." So you get this remorseful behavior because you've made a mistake and tried to shoehorn something in. So I think we need to be very careful with how this is dealt with. Ultimately, the best signifier of a person's worth is what they are able to contribute and how their contribution is felt. That's it. That is it. What do you give and what do you get back?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's it. And if you give love and you get back love, you have purpose.
Amazing. I do love this concept which you're sharing about inclusion. It's exactly also what I'm actually staying so strong with here, that it's exactly that it's not our difference should be welcome, and it's definitely should not be corrected. Like you said, we have to understand that our core values, everything what actually really means in this life, it should be welcomed as inclusion, as the sameness, right? But unfortunately, you know how society still works for people with prejudice, generalization, stigmatization, right? Especially like you said brilliantly, I like Paul very much, that there are two types of diversity which actually visible, you can immediately say, but there are a lot of things which we now know more and more. We have challenges, especially between youngsters, that they have maybe what I don't call it disabilities, I call it mental uniqueness, which is actually their conditions that are invisible.
We're talking about the neurodiversity thing. Again, that isn't something that you, unless it's very much at the super clinical level and it's manifested itself physically, you don't see that. You have to approach someone, talk to them, and then you go, okay, so he's either overly excitable, stays on topic, doesn't stay on topic, is erratic, this, all the different behaviors that a lot of these neurodiverse conditions exhibit. You would pick up on those things, and you would say, okay, but you have to engage with that person. And again, if it's something that you go, oh my God, that guy's a complete idiot, well, that's just because you haven't been educated. And let's face it, a lot of these conditions are difficult to diagnose. Those that have been diagnosed have been around for a while, but there are ones popping up, and there are ones which are at the behest of social media. There are some that are, for want of a better term, popularized, and everyone goes, oh, I don't feel like doing any work today. I've got X, I've got this, so they attribute simple things like laziness to something. And some people are lazy because they have that, or some people don't have the attention for something because they have ADD or ADHD or this or that, or they have something that genuinely is affecting them. But we as a society don't know enough. It's not something that's taught at school. In fact, there's a lot of schools that can't pick up on it well and can't recognize that these things are real issues. And a lot of these issues have been created by things like this. Exactly. The monotony of scrolling, and the fact that we are looking at things for a fraction of a second to pick up a keyword or to pick up something, and then we move on and we move on. What does that do to your brain? Well, it means you don't have the ability to focus anymore. So you start to just pick up a few key things and move on to another topic. So you do it here, you go, the average time about 20, 30 years ago, people would spend 5-6 minutes on a website. It's now in the seconds. It's a few seconds. If you don't show them what they want, they go to another website. They bounce off and go somewhere else. It used to be ages. People would go in and go, oh yeah, I've looked at your website. And they meant I went through every page, even Contact Us. I went through every page and read everything and looked at it properly. That doesn't happen anymore. So you take that behavior, now apply that to real life. Now that apply that to a conversation. I'm talking to you and I go, no, move on. No, move on, move on, move on. Nothing is gaining my attention. Nothing is gaining my attention because I've learned that the fastest way to get to what I want is to flip from one thing to the next. These are learned new behaviors, which is why you have people who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s who are getting these problems, not just the kids who've been born with this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the funny thing is, we know in countries where they don't get given mobile phones and iPads and all that at young ages, don't suffer from these things.
Exactly.
They don't. They don't. They go out and they kick a football. They don't suffer from these problems. They don't have these things because they don't even know what it is to do this constant scrolling. The device and what's on the device is not the thing that teaches them about life. It's the books, it's the teacher, the things that you have to patiently go through, page by page. You don't pick a book up and go, done, throw the book away, done. You don't do that. You go through it. It can take a week, 2 weeks to go through a book, especially if it's a factual textbook. It could take a month, 2 months, 3 months, you know, to learn the information, to be iterative on the processes and learning the information. So, and the teachers and the way they consult with you, you can't just tell a teacher after they've said 6 words into one lesson, no, miss, don't want to learn that, next lesson. Before you know it, within an hour, you've gone through 15 lessons and she's taught you nothing. That does not happen in those parts of the world. It doesn't happen in many parts of the world, but it happens in the West. And that's because we've got used to this. And I fear with things like, AI, ChatGPT, it's even going to get a lower grade. You're not even going to think about what you need to search for. And is that a good thing for the person who knows nothing else? It's great because they know nothing else. For the person who spent a whole load of time knowing of something else and then losing that as a skill, you won't pick up this new thing in the same way someone who's a child at the age of 2 who will grow up with AI all their life. So you will be weak at one and weak at the other. Do you see what I mean? And that's why you've got to pick and choose your battles when you use this kind of stuff. And continuously doing this stuff it's not good for us. No, it's not.
And practicing digital detox, it's so important. And for me, the most tragic that people who, like you said, into the scrolling, they trained just this muscle, but they completely, their muscles maybe even didn't exist if it's really young generation now, or, you know, the most scary, it's like deal friends, real friends, deal relationships, real one, right? It's like depth of the relationship, interaction between people. It's actually so much damage and it's dying almost. Like I said, nobody want to go in the depth. Everybody just, even a relationship, they don't know anymore. Some people say that ChatGPT is their best friends. It's so tragic. It's so sad. It's what about real hugger time?
Because the difference is this: ChatGPT will answer questions on your terms. That's the problem. ChatGPT doesn't have an algorithm in it to disagree with you violently. And say you're an absolute buffoon. Stop thinking that way. Maybe in time, you know, people may demand these things to become way more human-like, where they can get angry with you. They can tell you to shut up. They can say you're being stupid. But these things don't. If you say to ChatGPT, "Oh, today I feel like drinking cooking oil," it'll go, "Oh, I don't think that's a good idea. Oh, no, but sometimes, you know, I really like the taste of cooking oil." It'll go, "Great, I've got an idea. Why don't you put some orange juice in it? Try it that way. And maybe you know, that's what it will do. It's designed to tell you what you want. It's not designed to tell you no. Because if you think about the makers of it, you think about OpenAI, they want it sticky. They don't want something that's gonna be antagonistic to the user. They want it to be sticky to the user. They want, oh, do you know what ChatGPT said? I was amazing yesterday. That's what it wants. It wants you to think that, because tomorrow you're not going to. How many of your friends call you in the morning or say to you in the morning, "All right, Paul, how are you doing? Just want to say you're fucking amazing. You're amazing. You're such an amazing." But they don't. But ChatGPT will do it after every decision you make. It will say, "Well done. That's such a good thing." It's like you're a 3-year-old and it's giving you that 3-year-old encouragement. And that is addictive in itself. because it's not even something that's it's relative to life today, because we don't get that every day. And the thing is, if you get it every day, it's not special anymore. And you're going to have moments where people are going to be so excited about talking to this bot, who over time is going to become inherently way more human, know them intimately, because it's a bot. You tell them stuff you wouldn't even tell another human, and it will get so many things right.
You know what? Last week, my daughter, she came, and we always have this tradition, still without phones, sharing the news after the day and reflection. And she said, Mom, it's so crazy. One girl, she claimed now on social media that she got married to ChatGPT. Or she made the AI husband, and now she got married, and she claimed it should be like really legal now. It's like it's way to, you know. But what's your, can you please, we know that, what's your advice, especially for those teenagers who are bumped with all this noise 24/7, old-fashioned school? What's your Paul's advice?
My thing would be, and I would never say don't, because AI is inevitable. It's not a bad thing. There is so many jobs that are going to be created, so many industries that are going to perform at levels at which they've never experienced before. Medicine is going to change to the nth degree. Healthcare will get infinitely better. People who have had prostheses and prosthetics for all their life have a chance for 3D printed things to happen in their life. New hearts, new this, new that. It's going to be such immense change on such a positive level. The problem is you cannot let it replace your ability to be a human. And a human requires cognition, our ability to think, because thinking is what keeps us going. You may have heard, like, you know, sometimes when people retire, within a few years of retiring, if they do nothing else, they pass away, because there's nothing going on in the brain. The brain requires continual activity. The brain supports every part of your body. Now, when the brain is dormant, it goes, well, I don't need to kickstart on my metabolism. I don't need to care about, my liver's packing up. Who cares? There's no demand on me. There's no pressure on me to perform. There's no pressure on me to get stronger. Think about the concept of hypertrophy in a gym. When people go to the gym to grow their muscles, what do you have to do? You have to stress the hell out of it. You have to take it to a damaging point for it to regrow, repair, and become bigger. That is exactly the same as how cognition works. You have to stress it. And it's stress in a good way. There is bad stress and there is good stress. We thrive on both. There are people who thrive on bad stress because it gives them a chance to complain. It gives them a chance to act the victim. And there are people who thrive on good stress because they do amazing work with it. They do amazing things. And that is so important. And if all your thinking is being outsourced and you're not being stressed, you will live a lower quality of life. Your sense of achievement will be zero. And if we all have the same computer in our home as we do now, that's doing all this thinking and making, then genuinely to pull yourself apart from the rest of the people is going to become harder and harder and harder. So the ability for you to shine, to show yourself, to be different is going to be more and more difficult. So you have to focus on those things. You've got to focus on things that allow you to shine as a human with your physicality, with your physical being, as well as your ability to take advantage of what AI brings, what opportunities it can open up for you, what financial opportunities, what business opportunities, what this, what that. But do not ignore the physicality. Do not ignore your limbs, your body, who you are, what you look like, how you talk, how you engage. Do not ignore that. That is so important. If you go and learn the instrument, ChatGPT, these AIs can play the trumpet like Louis Armstrong if you want it to. It can play the piano like play the piano like Beethoven if you want it to. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't. That doesn't mean you shouldn't learn that. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do that, because that cognition, that connection is what's going to keep you growing as a human. It's what's going to connect those neural pathways, make you strong, make you a stronger thinker, make you realize when AI is making a mistake versus when it's not. It will make you realize, which is the biggest challenge we have with AI. It's not its ability to do stuff, because in 2 years' time, 3 years' time, you'll have these humanoids walking among us, especially like in the US to begin with, and maybe Japan and South Korea and all these. You're going to have it. You're not going to stop this train. This train is going all the way. You're not going to stop it. But what you've got to try and do is figure out, when is it going off the rails and when is it on the right rail? And that's for the greater AI thinkers in the world to judge, but also what your station stop is, which is the point at which you go, I don't need to be involved in that part of it anymore. I'm using it for things that are valuable to me. Like, I don't have to worry about doing the dishes in my home. I don't worry about doing anything in my home. My home runs itself. Good. Great use of AI. I don't have to dictate admin letters and pay bills and do this. I don't do anything like that anymore. Great. I don't have to talk to my friends. No problem. I don't have to, if you have children, teach your children. Problem. I don't have to engage in relationships. Problem. Anything that requires you and your personality and your cognition and your approach that is personal and unique, what makes you you. If you start to outsource that, you're in an absolute doomscape. People who I know people who will chat to me on Instagram, and I know I'll ask them a maybe slightly searching question. Let's say it's a girl. I'm asking, should go off to ChatGPT, and I'll get this ChatGPT, and I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, is this how you're gonna, like, when I'm face to face, are you gonna have your phone like this down the bottom? I'm gonna ask you a question, and you're gonna go, just a minute, I need to go to the toilet, and then go and ask ChatGPT. I mean, what is wrong with you? Or wear the glasses so you just answers you at the same time. Where's your person? Where's you? And remember, ChatGPT is a large language model. These are large language. They work on the basis of what is already out there. They work on the basis of the information that's out there, which means what's being said to you is out there. It's already out. It's not unique. It's never been said before. It's never been said before. It's already out there. It may be able to blend things together and come up with something new, but it's blending things that are already out there. It's not coming up with an entirely new thing that's never existed since the dawn of man. It's never done that. So we still have a space to fill that. And sometimes when these things come along, it's a bit like when the internet came in, when industrial age, you hear all these people saying, well, it's another industrial age. And it forces everyone to start thinking about something else. It forces people up, well, I don't need to do admin anymore. I don't need to do paperwork anymore. I'm going to start doing this. Yes, those things that we're going to have to start doing will come to us over time. A lot of people are nervous and scared and going, I'm going to lose my job. Yeah, but what your job is, if 90% of your job is in sitting in front of a computer and just doing this, you shouldn't be doing that job. That's not a great job anyway. You need to focus on doing something that's not monotonous. Maybe it's a chance for you to do something else. Maybe it's a chance for you to, go out and be in nature or something else. So there is opportunity, but I really think when something is inevitable, it's like if someone says, "Oh, there's a cold. It's going to be cold tomorrow. It's going to be freezing, -20, or this stuff." What do? Do you go, "Oh God, my life's not worth living," or do you go, "You know what? I've got to wrap up warm. I've got to change my behavior. I've got to put a massive jacket on, put a scarf, put a hat, but I still need to go out." It's the same attitude. Something is coming, and it'll be a benefit to the people who approach it in the right way. But if there's fear, you've got to attack it by being prepared, and that's the most important thing. And people lose a lot of sight of that.
Genuine person, thank you so much. It was amazing to gain all your insightful knowledge. And last question before we wrapping up, called me. I'm so sorry. I will edit this. That's why it's nice. It's recording. I'm so for this technical stuff, but it's actually also show that we are so human. I'm still happy that we are so human, that it can happen even sometimes. Like, if it was really like everything with AI, everything goes so smooth. But I'm so happy that we are really can have this, some moments that show actually. I even try to encourage people, like, they believe sometimes, oh, you're hosting podcasts, it's you kind of, like a star or something. But I true that every single person can be the same like you and me, just work. And just like you said, it's about your knowledge, it's about your brain muscle, right?
Yeah.
That you can teach and train every day to learn something new.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you talk for a living, then you're basically been doing this for years, right? Podcasting is just a different word for the same thing.
Yeah. Before we wrap, and I would like to ask you my very cool question. It's usually I'm saying to people that, and now, Tom, I'm inviting my vice president, because you wrote me on the chat even like, Valeria, we're going to be just of us. I said, first I said yes, but now, like, and this is my vice president. You see, she's so beautiful. Can you recognize what
It's Aladdin's lamp.
Exactly. That's
Yes.
why she's beautiful, pink, sustainable, toffee one. Small but really really effective, and want to help as many guests as possible. Unfortunately, maybe we don't have time to help with 3 wishes for every guest, but with one wish it's absolutely possible, and we will be more than happy to do so. My last question today for you, Paul, exactly right now, with this energy and message and frequency and waves, what we are having just right now, and I do really feel that it's amazing, though we were interrupted a little bit. Yeah. So, what that wish would be from you today? No, it can be for you, it can be for me, it can be for the whole world. It could be small, big, just exactly what's on your heart now.
I would say, and I say this because I had a really tough week this week. One of my friends committed suicide last week. A very, very, very close friend of mine, and like out of the blue, we still don't know why. It was 4 days ago, and so if I were to wish anything, I would say if you're and his children, his missus, no one knew. Literally, he was absolutely normal right up until they he went missing, and a few hours later, the police said we found his body. So very, very sad, and very close friend of mine. I would say if you're suffering with something, my wish is that you tell someone, and not chat GPT. You tell a human, and you tell someone, and just trust in the process that a good person will listen to you and a good person will do the right thing for you. And I think that's so important, because I think there's a lot of scared people, a lot of people going through traumas and problems, and they don't know how to explain themselves. And just like my friend, some of them make horrible choices. Yeah, and they feel they cannot, not like before. I don't know. What does it take to take your life to think to yourself, I've heard about it, I had no other choice but to not be here? That kind of level of pain, confusion, doubt. There you go. You've done it. Is so sad for someone to be in, because everything is forgivable to a degree. That is such a sad thing to be in. I would wish that anybody who was in that position go and talk to someone. And sometimes the best person to talk to is a complete stranger, is to find someone who's a complete stranger, who's not going to judge you, who doesn't know you, who can't say, oh, that's what you always say, who can't talk you down. Go and talk to someone and just say, is what I'm feeling right? Okay. And what help could I get? How can I get out of this? What can I do that it doesn't require me jumping off a cliff or doing something terrible to myself? So that would be my wish.
You have no idea what I'm feeling inside now. It is so strong message, because now who was been talking and calling me, it's my daughter. She's suffering from suicidal tendency and thoughts, and she came to me 4 days ago, and I'm so happy, and I gave her so much praise and word that she came to me and asked, Mom, I need help. She's 16 years old. And she said, I have these suicidal thoughts and tendencies, and what I'm doing today, we went to therapy, and now she's calling me because I promised her to pick up from school. She suffers a lot there, and a lot of kids around, they damage themselves and she told me about that, and they shared with her. It was so painful, and she started thinking the same. And I'm so happy that she actually came to me, was brave enough. Mom, I have those thoughts. So thank you so much that you actually brought this um, very, very powerful message. It's exactly what I heard. It's so important to talk to somebody, to share. You are never alone. There are people really who has this trauma and this experience, and they will be happy to help you. And we have the special numbers here in Norway that, like you said, if you don't want to be judged, yes, it's true, you can reach out. I will be posting in our post about our podcast. At least I know some.
You're in Oslo, aren't you?
I'm in Trondheim now, yes, but we have special.
Yeah, my friend who committed suicide in Oslo. He was in Oslo. Yeah. I'm coming to Oslo to the funeral. There's 2 funerals. He's Scottish. They're doing one funeral in Oslo and one funeral in Edinburgh. So I'm going to both. So I'll be in Oslo in the next 1 or 2 weeks.
Wow. Let's chat. Let's talk after our show, and I can then post in our podcast the message about how important the people can talk.
You know,
and can ask, how are you?
One of the reasons why people don't talk to people is because they don't know who to talk to.
Exactly.
They don't know who to talk to, and they often think no one can help them.
Exactly.
They often think they're trapped, especially financial issues, people who are plagued with something that they've done wrong. Let's say they've done something that they're so ashamed of, financial issues, ashamed things, and people who are living in threatened behavior. Someone says, "Oh, I'm going to tell someone this. I'm going to tell your wife that I saw you cheating." Whatever it is, they don't know who to turn to. And that's why I would always say, turn to a complete stranger. Don't turn to, if you don't feel comfortable turning to your family or your friend or for the fear of being judged because they are too close to the subject. Turn to a complete stranger, but turn to someone. Turn to someone.
Thank you so much. It was this powerful message. I think we're about to talk to someone. Please reach out to me, reach out to Paul, talk to someone. And believe me, we all have issues nobody can see and know about, and we all should feel that way. You are never alone. You are never alone. Thank you so much for being with us today. Much love from Norway, and I hope you and me, we can see each other in our real life.
100%.
Make more impact together. I will be so honored and happy.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you as well. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye for today. Now I'm going to my daughter with this. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Right. You're welcome. All right. Take care. Thank you.